Testing 1 2. All right, there's the microphone. Whew. Okay. So no intro tonight. Welcome to episode 28. Jeremy Makes Stuff. I'm running everything from my laptop, as you can see here. The my desktop apparently crashed and doesn't detect a hard drive. So, make sure this is working. Yeah, cool. So, I will try and keep an eye on the chat window the best I can as we're talking tonight. Let me see if I can. Nope, that's not what I want. There we go. Get this over here. Alright. Cool. And that there. Alright, I think that should look correct. We pulled it real fast on my phone. Make sure everything looks good. Come on. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with my desktop. It was off, and it turned it on, and it's not detecting any of the hard drives. So, let's see. Oh yeah, it's working. Looks good. Alright, so this evening, as you could see from the title of the video, I want to talk about 3D printing for woodworking. The last two episodes were pretty heavy with the coding stuff, so I wanted to take another break from that. And before we really get into this, I'm going to post on social media about the episode. Come hang out with me tonight. Episode 28. And I'm going to post the link. And we'll see if anybody comes by. Normally, I post on social media in a couple places. Whoops, that's the wrong episode number. Usually I post right before I start, but I was having problems with the desktop computer. So I'll have to figure out what's going on there. That's disappointing. Hopefully I can at least boot up that hard drive as a secondary drive or something and get some stuff off of it. Yeah. Anyway, so tonight's episode, like I said, is 3D printing for woodworking. So what does that mean? Well, the interesting thing about making stuff is that there's really no limit. I mean, your imagination's the limit mostly. So if so like for example, a friend of mine, her dad gave me his bandsaw. He's retired. He said he wasn't using it anymore, so he gave me a bandsaw. It's really nice, 10-inch Craftsman bandsaw. I need to replace the throat plate. The blades hit it before, you know, I mean, it was a used bandsaw. It's been used. So I was thinking, oh, I could design a throat plate for it. But then I thought, well, let me just check and see if Craftsman bandsaw throat plate, if there's something on Thingiverse. Well, the thing about Thingiverse, when searching for things, sometimes you can be too specific on the searches, right? So if I just search for bandsaw, now there's all kinds of things that came up. So here's a table insert. It's not for the right bandsaw, but this one is. So a little over 4 years ago, someone designed the file, and that's what the top of my bandsaw bed looks like. So I didn't have to design it myself, and that's the really cool thing. Hey Sajesh, thanks for joining me. I got the chat open over here. I think it's floating above my head, sort of. But that's the interesting thing about when you get into the maker community, either locally or online. There's a lot of times where it's like, oh, I need this thing, and you could immediately, grab pencil and paper and a ruler or whatever and start measuring and designing and stuff. But you can also check and see if somebody else already did. So instead of having to spend, I don't know, an hour maybe measuring things and putting things in Tinkercad, found the exact piece I need. So added that to a collection, and I'm gonna 3D print one for my new bandsaw, and it's all good. And one thing that Tiger had mentioned before is he has a CNC machine at Shipoko, and he had 3D printed a dust boot. And the way that works is while it's cutting, it's creating a bunch of sawdust, right? Because it's removing material. And he had this boot that attaches to it with the vacuum hose, so it sucks all this stuff out. Well, one thing he mentioned was anytime he has a printed part that he's using, he always has a second copy on hand. That way, if it breaks, he can immediately just swap it with the spare and continue the project without having to stop everything, go back to the printer, print another one, wait 6 hours or whatever, depending on how intricate the part is. So I found the insert I needed. I'm going to print 2 of them, and I'll have a spare one on hand in case I'm doing something and it gets destroyed. The first thing I did when I got the bandsaw was I ran it and cut some stuff with it, was checking it out, took it all apart, replaced the blade. Really neat tool. I'm excited to have this saw in my collection. It's gonna help a lot. It's already helped with cutting some strips that I was gluing together down to the correct height. I was gonna try and use the belt sander to take off that extra material I didn't need, but this worked out. So anyway, needed a bandsaw table insert, found the exact one for the correct saw, and it's even the right model number and everything. It's great. So what are some other things? Well, like I said, I made a collection. I'll pull this up. 3D printer parts. It was tools to make. So here's the bandsaw insert. Also, my bandsaw does not have a miter gauge, and there was this miter gauge here that this guy designed, but for a different saw, which is fine. The actual miter gauge piece would work except for the track. Well, somebody else again already designed the appropriate track for it. So I think this is a remix. Yeah, a remix of the other gauge. And he says, just print the angled, the piece that rotates, that angles and holds the material in place, and here's the track for it. So if I decide to make like a circle cutting jig, and I need to utilize the track space there, I could print this track piece. It doesn't just have to be for the miter gauge, right? I can print that track piece and use it for other things that I want to use on the bandsaw. Let me go back to the collection. So there was a couple other ones I looked at before. You know, I have a Ryobi table saw, but it doesn't have the miter gauge either. So here was one that had the proper sized rail. This featherboard, I printed one of these already in red. I didn't have the right track piece, which is why I found the other table saw tracking. But you know, this is great. Featherboard was like $30, I think, last time I looked them up. And this is, you know, less than $1 in plastic. So I have to have the $200 printer, but you know, it's saving money. Same with the miter gauges. You know, they're not free. Then there's these guys here. So there's a company called Micro Jig, and they create a thing. They have a thing called the gripper, and I saw it at Rockler, and maybe at Woodcraft. I'm not sure if they had it too, but it's this cool. Let's see if the no, not that one. It's this cool tool that you can use when pushing wood on the table saw, so you don't cut off a hand, right? So let's see if this guy has a good picture of it. Well, anyway, basically, you've got the blade. Let me see. Micro Jig. Yeah, it's like this picture here. You know, cutting the small piece of wood, you don't want to be right up on top of the blade. You know, fingers are important to keep. So what this does, it has an adjustable, that was weird, that was going to make it bigger. Has this adjustable centerpiece, so you can see the side leg is holding the piece to the right of the blade, and this is holding the center of the blade, and this is pressing up against the wood, so it's not slipping out the other side, kind of like a featherboard does. And you just push it along, everybody's hands are safe, and if something happens and the blade catches the gripper, you know, it's still, you're going to be okay. And how do I exit the full screen window? Just refresh. But you can see it's an $80 tool. And some people, they have two of them because you're pushing a long board. You can kind of, you know, stair step it with two of them to keep pushing through and keep the proper amount of pressure on. Well, that would be $160. So there are a couple of different clones. Here's one. They called it the Pushter, kind of like the gripper, right? And it's got a handful of pieces, and there's a few bits of hardware you need. A couple of, I think, handful of screws. Let's see. Well, it doesn't say right here. It might be in the think files. See if there's an assembly guide in here. Nope. Well, it's not that many. It's like 8 screws or something. And you can see, you know, people made them. And even if it took an entire spool of plastic, which it wouldn't, that's only $15. So the economically, you know, you make 2 of these, say they're $3 a piece worth of plastic, and one gets destroyed on the saw, you make a third one, you're still only out, less than $10. If you purchase two of them, it's $160. If you have to purchase a third, you've now went over the price of a 3D printer. So economically, if you print basically 3 of these, you've paid for your 3D printer. And you're protecting your hands, which is important. Let's see, what other tools did I find in here? Oh, these spiral clamps. These are cool. For setting up a piece of wood, if you're going to use a planer on it, or you need to hold it to sand it or something. And these are going into these threaded slots, and just takes the big bolt. And see, here's another sort of gripping piece over here, what holds these together. So you get it down where it needs to be, and then you can work on the piece. I'm kind of surprised there's not it's not lined up with one of the dog holes, with some kind of a stopper on the other side. But I thought those looked cool, and I'm going to I'm going to build a workbench. I signed up for a woodworking course with Steve Ramsey, is Woodworking for Mere Mortals. And the first big project is what he calls a BMW, the Basic Mobile Workbench. And it looks really cool. Actually, let me see if I can... Steve Ramsey, BMW. Yeah. See some images. So it's this nice, sturdy workbench. I picked up the pieces for it. Let's see. Moses says I could be a little louder. Alright. Or Tiger. Let me see here. That's all the way up. Let me adjust things here a little bit. Let's see. How's that, Tiger? Is that better? You sound like you're trying to wake someone up. Or trying not to wake someone up. Alright, let's see. So yeah, let me know if that sounds better right there. So anyway, this workbench, it's got the 2 pieces of plywood on the top, good solid top there. The double 2x4s for the sturdy legs and the shelves with plenty of storage and stuff. So I think it's a great design. I'm excited to put it together. But one of the things I'm going to do that's not on the plan here is on the ends, I'm going to add dog holes. And let's see, where did it go? And these spiral clamps here, they work with the dog holes. I thought those were threaded, but now that the more I look at it, I don't think they're actually the threaded holes like on the CNC wasteboard. Let's see, is everything still lined up good? Okay, yeah, the microphone's not too much in the way. So let's see. Actually, I wonder. I'm not sure what it's. Okay, yeah, dog hole peg works out. So here's some different pegs for workbenches. Bench dogs. And this one says it's customizable. I like the squares. Give a nice straight block, right? Most of the dog hole pegs are round. I actually turned one on the lathe as a test. I've got a little tiny table with some dog holes in it as a It's like a tool table, and I've used it a few times, but it obviously it had a round top that it pushed up against. Let's see. Tiger says they're generally friction based. Oh yeah, you mean going into the hole, and then so it's in the hole, and the thing pushes against it. It's not gonna pop out or anything. It's not screwed in, right? Yeah. Looking at this particular picture, because it was using the bolts, I thought that maybe it was screwing into something, and from this image, I don't think it is, because it doesn't actually look like there's any threading inside there. But let's see, this says it's customizable. Let's look at this in the customizer and see what kind of stuff can be customized with it. Okay, head type, rectangular or round. Let's see if this image will load. It's not loading the rectangular one. So head height, so if it needed to be, 30 millimeters tall, it'd stick out pretty good. And head size, for the rectangle it's the X, and for a round head it's the diameter. I don't know what's going on here, why it's not loading stuff again. 65. So if I had a specific need, and let's do a base height of like 120. But if there was a specific peg I needed for something, right, I could come in here and set up the parameters and 3D print it out, and then it would be good to go. So that's pretty cool. I think I'm gonna save this one in my collection as well. Let's see. There's another customizable one that looks like it's using a it's got a bolt in the bottom. I wonder if it prints in two pieces. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So it's a single. Is it a single piece or is that two pieces? Okay, it is a single piece, but pause between layers 31 and 32 to drop the nut in. That's fancy. So drop the nut in like that, and then it finishes printing the rest of it. And then I guess the bolt goes in, because there's that's neat. Let's see, inspired by QWAS dogs. Let's see what those look like. Wow, $40. Above the tabletop, yeah. Interesting. It does have the bolt on the bottom of it, though. I guess I don't understand the purpose of that. Unless it causes it to expand or something. Which doesn't seem right. Let's see. Holding a workpiece. Test the squareness of a workpiece. Help in gluing. A small shoulder. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Tiger, do you have any idea the purpose of the bolt on these? Let's see. Don't have an MFT table. Try this. Here's something else in Thingiverse. MFT DYI drilling jig. That's neat. So it's going to space everything out, the proper widths. So, and that setup is cool too. Looks like once you get the holes going, it this peg piece drops right in, so that it lines it up for the next. That's cool. Let's see. Yeah, so there's a half a peg there and two other pieces. Okay, so it lines up for the first hole. Clamp it down. Oh, and there's even a jig for aligning the drill bit. That's cool. And then plug it in. Nice. Well, that's cool. I'm gonna add that to my collection too. That way I'll have the jig whenever I get ready to make the tabletop. So let's see some other things I've seen in here. These different sanding sticks are pretty cool. Different shapes and lengths with the sandpaper attached to them. And then it screws down to get in the different tight places. Like the curve on that one. Get inside of a curved area. Let's see, make sure everything's still running right here. So, and then here's some 90-degree angle clamps. You know, I needed some of these before. I ended up using I had a piece of wood from Rockler that I was going to use on the lathe, but they're cut really, really flat, really straight 90-degree angles. So I used it as a stop block in the corner. But I've since used that to, I don't remember what I made with it. Maybe it was a toothpick holder. But these 3D printed 90-degree corner holder thingies are pretty cool too. They have the different lengths on here. Oh, nice. Inside and out with the F clamps. I didn't see that picture before. But, so, again, you know, for some, let's see, wood corner clamps. Yeah, these are $10 a piece. And these would probably take an hour to print 2 of them. Maybe 30 cents worth of plastic, if that. It's got the holes in the middle for the gripping using the C clamps or the square clamps. That's pretty cool. So anyway, so there's all kinds of neat stuff. If you know, you don't have to immediately go and design your own thing. You can search for it and see. And that's, you know, where we started down this path here with the bandsaw insert. I knew I needed one, and was gonna, well, like I said, probably spend an hour working on it, but there was already one here. So that's pretty cool. So I think that's enough looking around in Thingiverse for now. One of the other things I've noticed with a bunch of the YouTube videos with the woodworkers is most of them have a brand with their logo or their name. And let's see here, one second. Let me do this. With their logo or their name on it, so that when they finish a piece, they can brand the bottom of it, and it'll have you know, that signature there. And I'm working on a couple of things right now that I hope when I'm finished, I would like to have a nice brand to put my mark on the bottom of it. So one of the things I was looking at with Tiger the other day was there's these brass rods you can get on Amazon, and I saw a video where a guy took the brass rod and then like carved out the design for the brand that he wanted. And Ken at the Makerspace has started doing some metal forging. He made a little forge, and I think melted down some aluminum and I don't know, a few different things. But Tiger and I were talking about that. Instead of getting the brass rod, we could actually design something, 3D print it, make a mold from that, and then melt down some brass and pour it into the mold. So what I want to try and do here now is kind of mess around with some ideas for what to do there. And the thing to consider, so let's say, just real quick, right, if I had a that's crazy, if I had a piece of brass and I was going to carve on it, I would need to carve the mirror image, right? Because if I want this to say, you know, text, and that's gonna burn onto the wood, well, when that gets pressed against the wood, it's actually going to be the mirror image of that. So one thing to consider here is it has to be a mirror image, and with designing it in 3D, that's a little bit easier to do it the correct orientation and then mirror it, opposed to trying to carve it out and, you know, potentially forgetting about the mirroring and making the E the wrong direction or something, which is probably something I would end up doing. But here in Tinkercad, it's real easy to mirror something like that. See, just one click, and now the word text is mirror image. So this would be 3D printed, and then some molding clay. It would be pressed into molding clay, and then the brass could be melted down and poured into the mold. And then from there, the brass end could be attached to a handle of some kind, and then it's heated up and pressed into the wood to leave the burn. Now there are some branding irons like this. So here's some on Etsy. This is custom branding iron. It's $8. $8 plus, right? So only the iron. Okay, so I don't know what some of these options are here, but the cheapest actual iron is $30 with 2.5 centimeters. So that's what, about an inch wide, going up to 15 centimeters, which would be what, 5, 6, 7 inches wide or something. But so you see how this turns out nicely. This is the mirror image here, and then when it's heated and pushed onto the wood, it leaves the mark behind. Wow, that one's intricate. That's pretty cool. I like that. It's got the saw blade and then the wood grain. So, and they make candles here too. But, so, I think I can do something similar with designing it in Tinkercad and then making a mold from it. So, it seems like the circles are pretty popular, which kind of makes sense too, because the bottom of a plate or a bowl or something is usually a round area. Let's see, that is set to millimeters. 1 millimeter. What was the ruler? So some of those were, what, 25 centimeters was the smallest, right? That was being sold on that Etsy account, which is about an inch. So I'm gonna go ahead and double that. And the height, I think, doesn't necessarily matter right now, just as long as the base is flat, and then figure out later with the mold how thick it needs to be. Let me see. Let me go back to the custom irons. Yeah, because if this is about, I mean, I can't tell if that's an inch or 2 inches wide. The thickness looks about 1/4 of an inch thick there. But there's also this, like, plate on the back that's all connected up and stuff too. So for now, I'll just leave that at an inch. Let's see. I'm gonna do a ring circle around it. I went to 50, didn't I? So let me go to 48. 48. And oh, that's cool. I didn't realize the ring was a custom shape that could be adjusted. That's neat. Undo. Okay. Let me align these two. And yeah, 24 sides, that's the maximum. I'll leave that as a circle for now. Bring this down here. Yeah, Tiger, I saw the octagon. That looked pretty cool. I'm gonna leave it for a circle for now, just to have the area here to work with. And I think I want to put this back to make this the same width. And realign those. And it's 5 millimeters tall, and that looks to be about a half. So 2.5 millimeters above the plane there. See, Tiger says, make it thick enough. If you drop it and dent, it won't chip out. Well, I'll want to cast 2 or 3 of them just in case as well. So now I'm not sure if I can make the text. Yeah, it's fine. I'm not sure. I've had problems before with the fonts not exporting in the same way that they look inside of Tinkercad. But, oops, wrong mouse. Segments aren't doing anything. I'm going to move this over here. Whoops. Let's see if I go down to... Nope, I didn't want that to crunch inside. Let's see. I feel like that's not as thick as I thought it was either. Let's see if I can align these together at the top. Let's see, is there a way to hide this right side? Yes. Okay, that's better. Let's see, so that's still 1 millimeter above the bottom plane. So that's going to have to be a height of 6. I feel like the height on the text doesn't match up with the actual height. I'm not sure. Let's see, Tiger says make everything too thick, then come in and slice it all at once to everything even. Make everything too thick. Come in and slice it all at once. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So I will... Where did the settings go? There we go. So yeah, make it super tall. And I think instead of the ring, I'm going to do another cylinder. Come on. It's not want to line up. I'll do another cylinder and then make a hole. Sometimes this alignment stuff is funky. There. Bring that one way up. Copy it again. Make one of these just a little bit 48 realign with the outside and make this one a hole. Group those two. Line it up there. I was also thinking about I have a lettering kit and I think they're made of steel. I'm not sure if those could be heated to do like a date. For like a date or a piece number or something. You know, if I make 10 bowls, I could label them as a set or something like that. Oh, you know what? I didn't do it in all caps. Thought something looked weird. Tiger, I know you like to tease me about the caps. Let's see if I center, oops, the word makes. And let me grab stuff. 1, 2, 3. And this one. 2, 3. That's pretty cool. There's still a little bit of room here. Let's see what else I can add at the bottom. Some kind of a little flourish or something. Yeah, I'll flip them after we cut it down. Let's see if maybe there's some kind of a saw looking thing. Oh, flip before the cut? Okay. I guess, yeah, the cut should be the very last thing that happens, right? Oh, there's curved words. Let's see, what would that look like? That would get too big real quick, I'm sure. Let's see. Drop that out of there again. Lock those. Yeah, maybe a gear or a, and then bring the teeth to a point. It might kind of turn out like a saw blade. So yeah, this is a little too squished to be in a inside of a circle. Let's see. I know there's some gears in here somewhere. Are there? There's pages on some of these. There we go. I wish there was a way to search. And Tiger says for 2019 at the bottom. Maybe. Like I said, I want to look at that lettering kit again too and see if maybe I can use that to do dates and things. That's too far. Can't quite get those pointed. So more teeth is closer. It kind of looks like a good job sticker from kindergarten. Let's see, that metric gear. Oh yeah. Oh, and that has a pitch on it too. I feel like I'm really zooming in close. I don't know what this module means. Oh, okay, that's like diameter or something. Or some calculation with height and diameter. What just happened? I think I clicked. Let's see. That's kind of saw blade like. What? It's like it's changing. Let's see, add a bigger circle and leave the pointy bits. Let's definitely want to take a circle out of the middle, right? And see, it changed again. I'm not sure if that's going to be predictable. Right, that's not 54 teeth. Let's see, back to the circles. I don't know why the alignment's acting up. Smaller. Ah, snap grid is too big. There we go. Oh, yeah. I changed it down to 0.1 millimeters. Let's see. Just stick out just a little bit more. And that'll slice it off though, right? I'm gonna go ahead and group those and hope that that'll keep the gear piece from resetting itself. There we go. And take a cylinder out of the middle. Do what, like I don't know, 5x5. What do you think, Tiger? Is that saw-like? I know when it cuts down, that outer circle's not going to be there. But I feel like that's keeping the teeth in place from that generator. See, maybe over on the side or something like that. You know, that wood grain on this one looks really cool. I don't know if I could work that out. That saw looks really good with the gaps in it. It really looks like it's moving. Let's see, Tiger says maybe the whole border is a saw. That could be neat. I think I would have to get more detailed with the actual saw teeth, though, to make them more saw-like and less gear-like, right? Because it has the front end, the flat end of the tooth, and the back end that curves. Which, by the way, when I was replacing the blade on my new bandsaw, the blade came out of the package, and I put it in, and then I was cutting a piece, and I was having some trouble, and I looked at it, and I figured out I'd put the blade in inside out, and the front of the tooth was facing up instead of down, so I didn't realize that a bandsaw blade could be turned inside out. Let's see, I wonder if maybe... Let's go to Thingiverse. Search for saw blade. So here's like a buzzsaw blade, right? Here's saw blade art. Look at this one. Yeah, let me grab that file. So there's saw blade 2. Should delete that. And import in saw blade. Oh, it's even flat on the one side. Which would probably be the better side for me to use, right? Because get around there. There we go. Because that's the shape. Because the additional geometry isn't going to really burn into the wood. Let's see, so this was 50 by 50. Bring this down to 50 by 50. Need to make that the inside hole bigger, right? So maybe a little bigger there. And line those up. Huh, whoops, wrong axis. Line those up. I'm going to push this down so that there's sort of this the very tip of the blade, I think, is, I don't want that to be as part of the cut. Let's see, I wonder if I go ahead and, oops, chop this one from the bottom and then extrude so it'll be a flatter side. This piece, group. Yeah, that's better. So it's a straighter piece to work with there on the edges. See, I think I want to group these words together too before I change anything with those. Alright, bring this back up to height. And I'm going to align that. I don't think that moved. Okay. Lock the words again. Let's see, what did I do? 55? Yeah, so let me do this as 50 by 50. That. So that was a little big. 48. Because I don't want to cut off any of the teeth. Group those. That's cool. And I kind of like the letters going into the side there. ungroup, give that center hole more sides. So if I make sure these are centered, looks like it is, or it was before I shifted it, I guess. And then now I'm trying to see if I can get a little extra space either on the top or the bottom. To maybe add some kind of a flourish or something there. Just realign it. And let's see, go back to the generators. QR code would be neat if it wasn't so big. I don't know, does anybody really use QR codes anymore? I saw one on a sign earlier today and I was thinking about that. Different rings and curves and stuff. I don't really know what I'm looking for, just kind of looking. Solderless crux. Yeah, I could put the year there. That also means every year I'll have to make a new one, right? Thumbprint. That might be neat. I'm not sure if the actual print would come out. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna look and see if there's a Texas. Let's see what that would look like. Yeah, little Texas. Oops. Oh, that worked out nice too, because that's just an outline, kind of a thick outline. Let's see. Oh, he's kind of playing with just that though. Now I feel like I need something else over here on the left. Let's see, I wonder about shifting these letters around. That'll give a little more space. HF and a heart. Harbor Freight. You would think as often as I go by there that that I might do that. Yeah, I like that. It gives a little more room for some extra stuff here and there. Harbor Freight. Let's see what else. Yeah, Sylvia Tiger's right. HF is Harbor Freight. Let's see. I was wondering about maybe something else. Channel related. You know, because Texas isn't necessarily anything about woodworking. I don't really want to add a 3D printer outline or anything. I think that's a little too much. Oh, maybe a guitar. Let's see, here's a little guitar keychain. That's kind of neat. Oh, the YouTube play button. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's really only two pieces, right? A rounded square and then a triangle. maybe, let's see, that one looks like it has triangle all the way through. Let's see. Yeah. So maybe if I cut the keychain piece here off and do the outline and the triangle as the burn part. I have the outline and the triangle instead of the red piece being the brand, it would be the white. What do you think about that? Sort of a kind of a negative. Oops. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll use this to make the hole, but I want to take the loop off the side first. I'm actually going to turn the grid off and move it like pixel by pixel. Right about there. Oh, so close. Come on. Perfect. Hi, kitty. There's a visitor here now. So now I want to make a box. Let's see, how big was this? 13.69 by 8. So what is that, like 2 by 3 and a quarter or something? So that would be 7, yeah, 14. That's probably good. Turn that into a hole. Let's see if I get these two aligned here. Right there. Barely small. Now we'll see if this works. I'm gonna do 2 holes. Okay, so the top and bottom were a little thick. Let's see, which one's the width right here? We'll go to 9. And then align those two. Try that again. It's not bad. Maybe I'll bring the sides out a little bit. Let's see, that is 13.9 and 14.25. Reline. Group it. Group it. Let's see, I'll make this yellow for now. Rotate this a little bit. Oops. So there's a YouTube logo going into the saw blade. I think it's kind of cool. I'll make Texas just a little bit bigger. Got the space over there. Let's see. I'm gonna group it all and do a slice real quick and see what it looks like. That's cool. What do you think about that? See if I can find a good color to see what's going on there. What do you think, Tiger? And there's still enough room down here to put 2019. Hi, kitty. Yeah, I like that. Tiger and Sylvia like it. Let's see. I'm still not certain that text is going to stay in that font. Because like I said, I've had font change on me before. Nah, text is... Oh, when we grouped it? I don't think it did. I'll check again here in a sec. Come on. Yeah, after the slice. We'll check again. There is a base in it. So it might have been too tall. I might need to slice it like I did the saw blade. And down and up. Gotta have those sound effects. Let's see if I should... Oh, you think a separate small brand for the year? That way... Well, that's what I was saying. I have a lettering kit that you know, with the heavy mallet, and you put it on and you hit it and it leaves the number. I was wondering if I could heat those and use that as a brand, or use those to tap in the numbers and then wipe in some ink or something. I don't know. Let's see. Let's adjust this Texas here. There's more below it. Let's see, design a holder for them and they should work. Yeah, I'm not sure if what kind of material they are, and if heating them is going to cause any kind of, I don't know, issues. I mean, metal is metal, right? Metal is metal. Okay, so that's hollow for sure all the way. Group everything again. Oh, the printer just kicked on. And whoa. The box left. Ah, come on. Make this one bigger. All right, let's see. Nice. And the whole piece is about 2 inches in diameter. So that should, maybe a little bigger. That's a pretty good size. The only thing I've done that's maybe a little bit smaller than that was a ring holder. As like the first real thing I turned on the lathe. Cool. Do you think those walls of the Texas are thick enough? Probably, right? Because it's going to push down into the molding clay. Alright. Well, nice. Let me export this. It's an STL file. And simplify 3D. Come on. Grand Tuelmo Wassa. Oops. Open 2 copies. Oh, there's the fingers to be printed. Let's see if that turned out. Yeah. I don't have my mouse with the scroll wheel, but cool. I think it's gonna work out. Alright. I just resized it, but you know. Yeah, mirroring, that's right. So I need to mirror the text. Let's see here. You know what? Give me just a second here. I need to that's not what I wanted. I need to step away for a moment. Take a quick break, and in the meantime, give you a little bit of audio background here. Maybe. As I need to run to the restroom real quick. Apologize for the delay. Oh, it's not going to play the desktop audio. Alright, well, anyway. Give me just 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, where did my camera go? There we go. Okay, yeah, so I need to mirror the text. I like Texas being next to the S. So I don't want to just flip the text. I wonder if mirror the whole thing. That's not the correct direction, I think. This way. Yeah. So I didn't want to just mirror the text, right? Because then the Texas would be by the M. Oh, and the Texas would have been backwards too. The mirroring wasn't too bad. The mirroring options in Tinkercad are neat, and they show you the actual arrows that you want it to flip on, right? So you just click on the thing. But for whatever reason, I always do the wrong one first. Let me download that again. Now, since I have it here in Tinkercad or Simplify 3D, if I wanted to mirror it here, let's see, there is an option here somewhere. Mirror mesh, and then you tell it on which axis. Right, so that did it as well. But I would rather have the actual model mirrored so that if I reprint it later, I don't print in the wrong orientation. Let's see, let me move this back over here. That looks pretty good. I wonder too, since the teeth are kind of hanging over. So I think, so that I don't have any like drooping. Let's see, how do I zoom in without the mouse wheel? There we go. Even though the bottom here doesn't necessarily matter for the print, because it's going to go into the mold, still I don't want those drooping, and I don't want to just add a bunch of supports. So I think I'm going to adjust it so the blade goes all the way to the base. Let's see, so ungroup, but I'm not going to change the orientation of anything. Ungroup. There we go. And just pull that straight down. And group all the geometry, and now group it all with the holes. Yeah, I could have pushed the Z down, but I still want it to be, I want the copy of the model that I have to really be the final piece, right? Because over here, if I push the Z down, here, and then maybe not uniform scale, but bring the Y up. Come on, I said not uniform scale. Nope, not the Y. I'm crazy. The Z. Right, but that still starts to stretch things. Kind of weird, I think. And now I'm not really certain about how tall it is, and I'm not really sure how tall I need the print to be either, really, until you give it a shot. But anyway, I just want the STL file to be, you know, set up so that all I have to do is drop it in and tell it to print. Let's see, let me group all that. So you don't want it to be more than 15 millimeters. 15 millimeters tall, right? Yeah, that makes sense. But I wonder if, so like on these here, on this Etsy shop, they've got this plate on the back, right? With these screws. And then it goes to this nut, which has this rod. I wonder if as the brass starts to cool, if I could place a bolt kind of in the center and the back of it and push it into the brass a little bit so that it'll harden around the head of it, and then I could use another, a nut or something to make a handle, so then when we heat it up, push it against the wood. Because what I don't want to do is just make this brass circle, and then I'm like, well, now what? Now I've got to figure out how to attach it to something, right? And these screws obviously that they used here on this one are really small because they don't want to go through the brass to the actual brand. And this looks like some kind of a brass plate with the nuts and the screws on there. So yeah, I wonder if I can just bypass that whole piece of it by shoving a bolt in the end while it's cooling. I don't know. Yeah. Tap the rear. That's possible too. Let's see. So you think 15 is probably the max? Height that the piece should be for the mold. And I wonder if maybe there should be not as part of the print, but when it goes into the mold, is it going to need any like escape holes for air and things like that? So what am I trying to say? On Revamped Outdoors YouTube channel, Elliot has a video where he made a fishing lure. It was a frog fishing lure. Let's see. Yeah, so he sculpted it in Mesh Mixer. And then here, he took the 3D printed frog, which had this spout at the top, right? So this is a solid piece. Basically similar to what we're doing here, right? You have a solid piece, and it's going to go into the mold. So here he was making the two-sided mold. But see how it's got the part to pour in. He was using some rubbery material, plastic stuff to make the lures, because, the legs got to move in the water and all that. See, Tiger says he's doing 3D, you're going for 2D in reality. That's true. Yeah. But once it goes into the mold, I guess it doesn't matter if there's any bubbles past the absolute face of it, right? Because if or I don't know, chunks or whatever, I don't really know how it's going to cool, right? But as long as it's flush against the inside of the mold for the letters and stuff, then it's going to work out. And even if it's not, right, that same piece can be melted down again and try a second time. So yeah, maybe I'm trying to over-engineer a solution to a problem I don't have yet. I do that sometimes. Cool. I like that. I like the Y connected over there. Like the YouTube play button coming out of the side. Nice. If you have some time, I highly suggest checking out Revamped Outdoors YouTube channel. There's a lot of great videos in here. All kinds of things, from 3D printing parts to make an auger work with a drill. Duck calls. Tons and tons of duck calls. Elliot's going to be at a maker convention here in a couple weeks, and I saw a picture. He's got a box full of the duck calls that he's taking with him. All-terrain cup holder. All kinds of neat little projects in here. So I'd highly recommend checking it out. Got a lot of neat stuff, and sometimes he uses Tinkercad or Mesh Mixer or Autodesk 360. Autodesk 360 is something that I'm hoping to learn here soon. But anyway, yeah, totally check out Revamped Outdoors. There's a lot of cool stuff there. So, let's see. Alright, I think this is good to go. I'm going to export it again. Save it and slice it and get it to the printer. Unfortunately, since my desktop crashed, I may have to re-add my machine information in here. I might have a factory file. Let's see if I have a factory file somewhere. Well, that's not my factory file, but I think this is the right... Oh, I have profiles. I can always make more processes. Okay, well. I guess it just deletes stuff, huh? Alright. That is something else I've found interesting in Simplify 3D. Something easy to do is once you get everything set up with all the different processes, you can save the factory file. So that way, if you accidentally delete 2 or 3 processes, or you change them too far from the perfect settings or whatever, it's like having a backup. Unfortunately, I was not very diligent about doing that myself. Let's see, this is the Creality Ender 3. The layer height, or the layer height doesn't really matter too much on this, right? Because it's just a top layer, and it's going to be solid anyway. Always do a skirt. I'm going to leave the infill. There's not too much going on there. I'm going to put it at 100 just to see what it says. I don't need any supports. That's too high. The Ziltech filament seems to work really well for me at 220. Oh man, this means I lost my custom script. Well, I can recreate it. I'd made that custom script for doing the 3D printing with the fabric. That made it stop at the certain layer so I could put the fabric down. But, alright, let's save that. Hey, there's my base back at least. Let's see. Oh, Tiger, you said you'll stamp, melt, cool, then sand flush. Yeah, so, yeah, the top layer of the stamp that actually gets hot will have a nice smooth top, right? So if there's any issues, I guess I can just keep sanding. 4 hours and 26 minutes, and that's with 100% infill. But I wanted to see. Oh yeah, I was worried about that. The Texas outline and the rest of the outline of the play button did not appear. So I'm going to change the layer height and let's see. I don't remember if there was a second. There was another setting I changed before when that didn't show up. Let me see if just the layer height makes a difference. I don't think it should, right? Because the layer is top to bottom, not left to right. Yeah, so there was some other setting. Let me go to Simplify 3D Help. Let's see, thin wall setting. Yeah. Where was that setting? Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to find the setting in the help stuff. Simplify 3D. What did I spell? Simplify 3D. Yeah, that's what I did. What is the print quality? Yeah. Last screen, middle left. Advanced. Thin wall behavior. Allow single extrusion walls. Single extrusion fill. Let's see. There we go. Yeah. Thank you, Tiger. There's still some pretty big bulges there in the letters. Internal thin wall type. Let's see. See if one of these settings will get rid of that. Turn off braille feature. Is that what it's really called? That's what I'm looking for. I mean, not that. I don't remember ever seeing something called braille feature. Yeah, I thought so. Thought you were joking about that, but yeah, there's got to be just so much faster for me to look here. It's not the Bobs and Zits one. Yeah. See, that percentage does something. Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's put it 100% and see what craziness happens. Oh. That, there wasn't really any craziness. That fixed most of it. That was weird. Let's see. Tiger says try 85%. Well, usually I would just go to an extreme just to see what changed, but that, like, took away so much of it. Took away all of it, almost, except for a couple of key points. But yeah, I don't really see a change. Let's see what allow gap fill does. Yeah, my infill is 100%. I just wanted to see what it would do there as far as the print time. I dropped to 50. Yeah, it's still got those circles. Simplify 3D preview shows thick columns. I don't know. Okay, printing thin walls and small features. Edit process, external thin wall type, perimeter only. This means the software will try to print the exterior walls of your model using only perimeters. This is a great default setting for regular size prints, where you want to maintain structural integrity in the part. However, very thin features, like our turbine blades, we want to change this option to allow single extrusion walls. This tells software encounter thin wall. Print, yep, we did that. Internal thin features. Allow fill gap is default. How many walls? It's 2 around the letters, 1 around the Texas, and 1 around the play button, except for the corners. And it's 2 inside the play button. Oh, in the settings. Where is that setting? 2, so try 1. Oh, the outline perimeter shells. Okay. That only changed the outline on the saw blade, though. These are still 2, right? Well, I guess that is 1. It did change it in the play button. Now it's infill inside instead of a second one. So I guess the letters are already 1 perimeter. Let's try inside out instead of outside in. Like my bandsaw blade. Now, see, these are the start and stop points of each spot on the letters. Right? Because if I come back over here and show the lines, come on. There we go. So this is going to the print head. Come on. Is just going to start and stop. If I can ever find the letter again. Yeah, see that point where it's making that tall dot column thing is where it's starting and stopping. On the points, like that's where the retraction is. Yeah, there we go, right there at the letters. Little tiny Texas. So let's see, Tiger says increase the whole model by 20%. Alright. Let's go up to 120. Now the single outside shell of the letters, a little further apart, it still has that start and stop. Yeah, do a print and see. It really does add it. Unfortunately, I've run into this problem before. Let's see if I have. It was even on a calibration cube. There was like a seam. I don't see. Let's see, was it on this model? Anyway, yeah, there's like a seam where it comes out, but all right, well, yeah, I'll go back down to 100%. This is 9 hours now. What did we change to make it 9 hours? Oh, I went back down to 0.1. So let me go back up to 0.3. That should all be fine. Okay, we're back to 3 hours and 43 minutes. Alright, yeah, I'll do a test print. Like I said, I've seen those bubble columns or whatever they are show up on prints before. but I don't remember if it was something thin or if it was something. It was part of the model. I think it wasn't the snake print, but anyway, yeah, I'll give it a print. What is this brand? Jeremy makes stuff, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, it won't be so bad. I mean, even if there is a little bit of extra something there, right? I don't know how much it's going to show in the mold. I do have a smaller nozzle. I've got 0.1, 0.2, not 0.1, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, and 1 millimeter. If I put a 0.2 on there, oh, look at that. Interesting. I mean, it still has those like bubbly columns, but they're a lot smaller, and now there's actually infill between the perimeters of the letters. Alright, let me save that as well. I have the other nozzles, but I haven't put them on yet. I've never tried what is this, 0.2 nozzle. I haven't tried the different sizes. Now, Tiger, I know that you got some other nozzles. Have you tried the different sizes on your Ender 3 yet? Save that process so that I know that's the one with that setting in it. Alright, well, let's see, on the CR10, 0.2 was amazing, just slow. Yeah, that's, I mean, it went from almost 4-hour print to a 15.5-hour print. Just then by switching that. It's a lot more lines, I guess, right? A lot of little tiny lines. Cool. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up tonight. I want to thank Tiger and Sylvia for hanging out, and Sajesh, who stopped by earlier. You know, hopefully it wasn't too boring walking through some things I found on Thingiverse to use with woodworking, and then designing this brand here. If you're interested in more 3D modeling stuff, like I said, I'm wanting to learn some Autodesk Fusion 360. Maybe can do a couple episodes with that in the future. Next week, we're going to be back on the Wi-Fi finger project, working on the database stuff. Just about finished with the database code, and then we'll have the web service code. And then we'll go back to the hardware part of it. Hi, kitty. So hopefully that won't be too many more episodes. I've been trying to break it up a little bit so that if there's like 2 episodes of like some heavy coding stuff, then do something else for an episode. Like we did the music a few episodes back, and now tonight some 3D stuff. As far as the music stuff goes, I haven't received anything yet from the other 3 guys. I know they're all busy with their stuff too. And all three of them are still interested and are still planning on finishing out the song. So, hopefully in a few weeks, we'll have something from that, and we can see what kind of ideas they came up with from the starting point that I gave them. So anyway, and like I said, all my stuff is kind of wacky right now because my desktop shut down or crashed. So I don't have an intro, I don't have an outro. So I guess I'll just slowly kind of disappear here and say have a good night. Thanks for hanging out.